Welcome to Banfield. I'm Laura Ingle in for Ashleigh tonight. I'm so glad that you're here because we are following several fast-moving developments in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Now, you'll remember she is the 15-year-old missing teen found dismembered in the trunk of a rising music star's car. Now, that singer, known as David, has seen his life turned absolutely upside down in the last 72 hours. We've been watching it. The LAPD has raided his home. His endorsement deals have been paused for now. His world tour has been canceled. And even his record label is distancing itself from him. Could an arrest be imminent? Many people are asking that question tonight. And a massive manhunt is underway in upstate New York tonight after a woman was found stabbed to death in her home. Police are on the lookout for this man, Anthony Bershand, who they are searching for in connection with her death. But they've been searching for 5 days without finding a trace of their target. Look at his face very closely right now, because with the killer still on the loose, the police is urging residents to be on the lookout. Is the city of Cohoes under siege? We'll have more coming up later in this show. And could this finally be closure? More than 3 months overdue? It's a big question tonight. That's how long police and the FBI have been frantically searching for Travis Decker, the ex-soldier wanted in the violent deaths of his own 3 little girls. Tonight, what may be the final breakthrough? A dead body, human remains, found in that search area. Law enforcement officials are all but certain it's Travis Decker, but how can they be so sure? Well, I got it straight from the sheriff leading the search. Our entire conversation coming up in just a few minutes. So there's this old saying in show business, right? You're only as good as your last show. Basically, your current value or reputation is determined by your most recent performance. David Anthony Burke, who performs under the name David, but he spells it D4vd. Better hope his Monday show in Portland was a good one, a really good one, because as things stand right now, it might be his last show for a very long time. You see, his team has announced that the rest of his world tour will be canceled as he finds himself embroiled in a homicide investigation. On Wednesday, the body in the trunk of his impounded Tesla was identified as a missing teen girl named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. This teen had been missing since April of 2024, and her body, dismembered and decomposed, was found in the car on September 8th. And since the identification, there has been rampant speculation that Celeste and David had been in some kind of a relationship. And a reminder for you, David is 20 years old, and police believe Celeste died just days before her 15th birthday. The connections between the two, or maybe just eerie coincidences, include the following. Both Celeste and David had matching tattoos, the word shh on their right index fingers. Celeste's mother says that she was dating a David when her daughter disappeared, and a photo of David standing in Celeste's neighborhood before the teen disappeared. Then you've got the song by David, leaked in December 2023, titled Celeste, all about a girl he's in love with. TMZ has also acquired multiple photos and a video of David with a girl who looks remarkably like Celeste Rivas Hernandez. TMZ has also acquired a video, reportedly, of Celeste's former middle school science teacher describing how Celeste had run away to Hollywood with David after meeting him online. On Wednesday, the LAPD spent 12 hours searching a house where David had been living. So big developments this week. Sources say they were looking for blood evidence in the house and the garage. Neighbors remember seeing the Tesla regularly parked at that house, and it was abandoned and towed to an impound lot from the same neighborhood. It's not just David's world tour that has gone away. His record label, Interscope, has stopped promoting him, and his upcoming album, too. He has been quietly uninvited from a September 24th show at the Grammy Museum. And there are reports that Crocs and Hollister have removed David from an upcoming marketing campaign. So that's quite a lot. Earlier, Ashleigh spoke to TMZ executive producer Charles about the ongoing investigation and its effect on David's career. Let's take a look.
I've seen reporting that Crocs and Hollister have dropped him from a new campaign. Are you hearing the same thing?
You know what? I have not. I can't confirm that. I know that I know the reports you're talking about, and we've been trying to confirm that that they have. But that would be expected. And there have been other artists who have taken down songs that they collaborated with David on, and they've removed them from some platforms just because they have seen what's going on. And until we know for certain, I think some artists will see David as kind of toxic at this point, and they don't want to be connected. This is, the same thing we saw, and it's clearly not the same crime. And again, we should stress David has not at this point been named a suspect or person of interest, but we saw this happen with Diddy, right? As soon as the raids happened, and that was before he was even charged, there were people who backed off and didn't want to be associated, didn't want to answer any questions about him. That's what happens in showbiz when you suddenly are the focus of things like this. All those people who are your friends go running for the hills.
It's not good for business. It's not good for branding. One last question. People in the neighborhood, what's the canvassing of this neighborhood been like by police, by reporters, video, ring cam? These are the kinds of things that really can often help solve crimes.
Yeah, we have spoken to several neighbors ourselves, and they say that, yes, police have been there. They've gone door to door. They've been asking for any videos. We've been asking for those videos also. And to this point, we have not found anyone who had video that would have helped anything in the case. But people in that neighborhood were aware of this house, and not in a good way. We've heard a lot of people say that there were a lot of noise complaints. In fact, this is really strange, is the latest one was last weekend. Now, clearly David was not there in the house, but somebody was playing loud music, and there was a complaint about noise this past weekend. And we're told that there were a lot of parties in the past, and people in the neighborhood basically thought of it as sort of the problem house, that there were always young people. In a way, it does sound like sort of the way the complaints come around is like sort of older people in the neighborhood complaining about the young kids who are in this beautiful home, but having clearly in that home and having a good time and doing it with loud music frequently. So they were not, let's say, not well liked on the block.
Well, let me tell you, the police have pretty remarkable tools in their toolbox to figure out geolocating, alibi, all that kind of thing. So hopefully they'll be able to get to the bottom of this and find out who did this to this girl. I mean, she's a girl. She was a kid. This is so sad for her family, for Celeste, and, a cautionary tale for so many parents as well. Charles, I always love talking to you. Thank you so much for this.
I love talking to you too, Ashleigh. And yeah, you're right. It's very clear we're going to get to the bottom of this sooner than later. Like they are closing in, and it is heartbreaking to see these images of Celeste now, knowing how she came to her end. But to see her at a very young age in this sort of Hollywood circle, you just wonder how it got to that point for her. And you hope the police can solve this and give her family some closure.
All right, I want to bring in Lauren Conlon. She's a journalist who specializes in entertainment and true crime and the host of the Outlier podcast. She's been following this case very closely, and if you follow her on social, you know she is all over this story. Lauren, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Laura. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. All right, so let's get into this because David's world tour was canceled, but some dates we see are still on sale. So we want to talk about that. And also the tickets for 3 shows in Paris and 4 shows in Australia still available. So we're making note of that. Those, I guess, will probably be canceled soon. Not exactly a good look if he left the country amid a murder investigation. We don't know that. Police probably wouldn't be okay with that if that's the case. But it might force the LAPD's hand if he tried to leave. Do we have any idea where he is?
I was just going to say that, Laura. I think at this point, police most likely have advised him to stay local, stay in Los Angeles. I mean, you're right. And what we know at this point, again, is that he has not officially been named as a suspect. However, when a young girl's body is found decomposing and dismembered in a car that's registered to you, yeah, you better listen to the police. And today, September 19th, he was actually supposed to have a show in San Francisco, California. So again, my understanding is that he is in LA right now. However, his team is being very, very tight-lipped. All we know right now is that they are quote unquote cooperating. And something else, I thought of here, and look, I feel like with a Tesla that I don't think many people are talking about, there are 8 to 9 cameras on a Tesla. I think at this point, police must have that evidence that they're reviewing, and we should know more and hopefully see an arrest within the next week.
Right. That's a really good point. And you've got to wonder, too, can you disable those cameras before you're going to put a body in a trunk or in the front trunk or whatever it is? So that's a great question, though. And that's remarkable how many cameras there are. And speaking of cameras, I was also thinking, because I used to live in L.A., I lived in Hollywood and West Hollywood, and, the paparazzi is everywhere, right? They're looking for him. They're hunting him right now. We know this. We know that they've got to be out there. So we're waiting for that to pop up. So he's not going to be able to hide for very long. That's for sure. His team didn't just remove shows from his website, also forced to remove some creepy merchandise from his site. So for people who don't know, David was selling a line of button-down shirts with bloody handprints on them. And Lauren, this wasn't like a Halloween thing, right? It was because one of his biggest songs called Romantic Homicide. So yes, part of a theme here.
I mean, it's pretty disturbing because you can clearly see the correlation this guy has between romance and murder and homicide. I mean, I took a look at his website. I've gone down these rabbit holes. You look at these lyrics, okay, of Romantic Homicide. I have them right here. He has a line where he says, "In the back of my mind, I killed you and I didn't even regret it." One of his music videos, I think, he's carrying a casket, or people are carrying a casket. He just seems to have this very sick fascination, which, I mean, it really doesn't help his case at this point.
Yeah, and it seems like she wasn't exactly hiding with David. They were reportedly public with their relationship. She did appear in photos with him, at least it looks like her, and at least 2 live streams where he engaged with fans with her by his side. Moderators of Discord and Twitch that we've been looking at who, ran these live streams released a statement today, and they say they had no idea Celeste was underage or a missing person, thought she was 18 or 19. They say that they've severed all ties with David. But I mean, again, about the ages, this guy's 20, she was about to be 15. Right? I mean, this is really wild how they hooked up in the first place, allegedly, and where it went from there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, her 15th birthday was September 7th, which is a day before the body was found. And something else here, the fact that the body was dismembered, and I feel horrible saying this because you've got this beautiful girl on the screen who really should still be here, but her body was dismembered, and it seemed to be the way they had described it, the medical examiner, very badly decomposed, which to me kind of indicated that it had been there for well over a month. And it was also supposedly in a plastic type of container. I mean, look, again, he's not a suspect, but the dismemberment of a body, does that sound like a first-time killer to you? I mean, that's shocking to me. I can't really get my head around it. And also, his tour started right around August 5th, I believe, is the first date of his tour. Neighbors said the Tesla had been abandoned since maybe around the 3rd or 4th. So, the timeline checks out without, really pointing fingers at him. I mean, sorry, it's hard not to at this point, but yeah, it all is making sense.
Right. And listen, I mean, Los Angeles is really hot too, right? So it's a very, very warm environment where this Tesla was abandoned. I've heard other things too, that maybe the body just fell apart. Was it dismembered? Did it just fall apart? I mean, it's really hard to talk about, as you mentioned, with looking at the victim, and our hearts go out to her family and to her friends and everybody who, maybe didn't know that this was going on, this alleged relationship. Has David said anything right now? Has he said anything anything about Celeste? I mean, he apparently wrote a song about her, but has he said anything about what's going on? Because we don't know for sure where he is. We know that he has these reports that he returned to LA on Wednesday, but not seen in public. So are you hearing any buzz about what he's saying?
No, I'm not hearing anything about David and the way he feels, any sort of press statement about him. And, you know, I think it's interesting because he grew to fame on social media like TikTok and Instagram. He's got something like 2 million followers, and he's posing with very high profile people like Benny Blanco. And, you know, these people haven't said anything as well. They've said nothing. And I think at this point, everybody just wants to keep their distance, as they should, until we know a little bit more.
Lauren Conlon, all over this story. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's always great to see you. Follow Lauren on all her socials. She's got good stuff. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Laura.
All right. And coming up, police in upstate New York are putting out an urgent alert tonight, asking for the public's help in finding a man wanted in connection with a grisly murder. But with the suspect's car found just miles from the Canadian border, could it already be too late? We'll have the latest on that manhunt right after this break. Don't go anywhere. Well, any true crime fan knows that the 48 hours after a crime are absolutely critical for investigators. We all know this, right? And that's why police in the upstate New York city of Cohoes have such a tough task ahead of them, because they've been searching for a potential killer for 5 days now with no arrest in sight. There's no sign of this guy. 53-year-old Anthony Bichand has been missing from his home since Sunday. And that's when the cops found the body of his girlfriend, 41-year-old Amanda Rodriguez, dead in the home that they shared. An autopsy report released Monday revealed that Rodriguez's cause of death was blood loss from multiple stab wounds, including some to her chest. And the cops are now trying to track Bichand down in connection with her murder. They've got questions. Authorities say that Rodriguez may have been killed as early as Saturday, leaving a potential killer plenty of time to make an escape. And it looks like that's exactly what happened, because on Sunday, Bichand's pickup truck was found abandoned 150 miles north of Cohoes, just miles from the Canadian border. Now, thankfully, Cohoes police are not alone in their search, because they've got state police, border patrol, and even the forest rangers lending a hand now as investigators comb through the wild, wooded terrain. But that clock is ticking, and police are now asking for the public's help in tracking Bichand down. I spoke to the mayor of this town, William Keeler, about the manhunt earlier today. Take a look. Mayor, thanks again for joining us. I'm hoping that you can give us the latest on the search for Bichand.
There really has been no update since the truck was recovered. And, that was recovered about 2.5 hours north of Cohoes in Franklin County, which is one of our northernmost counties, on the Canadian border.
I just want to back up for a second, because this is such a horrific crime. And I just was hoping that you could kind of walk us through where exactly the victim's body was found. We know it was in a home. Tell us about this area and how the manhunt kind of spreads out from that location. What kind of location are we talking about?
The area itself is pretty suburban. The ranch is the house is a ranch. So, it's typical of the single family homes in that neighborhood. What happened is a friend was asked by the family to check on the welfare of the victim, and he found the victim, immediately called police. So when the police department arrived, they found the 41-year-old female victim deceased, obviously with multiple stab wounds. The PD estimated the death likely occurred the day prior. And we knew that she had resided with the boyfriend who was gone, so he immediately became a person of interest.
So can you tell us any background about this couple? Had there been complaints? Had there been phone calls to 911? Was he on your radar in any way?
No, not at all. We knew that he was a landscape contractor. She had owned that house for 10 years. There had never been a police call for disturbance there.
Wow. Okay. Well, as you move forward in the investigation, I'm not sure if anybody on your team knew of this suspect. I mean, it sounds like it's a relatively, tight-knit community. Did you guys know him? Did anybody on your team know him?
No contact with the police.
None at all. All right. So what is going on moving forward as we get into the weekend? What will the search team look like?
I mean, basically, they've set up aviation response with a helicopter. They've had drones up in the air. They immediately had a bloodhound search, and they've continued with canine searches of the area where the truck was located. It had apparently run out of gas, so that tells us that he probably either didn't have a plan or it went awry. So we don't know if he was going to Canada or what was going on there. But New York State Police in that area continue to comb the area. Uniform force patrols and marked cars are blanketing the area. State police investigators in unmarked cars continue to check the area, conducting interviews, expanding the search. But, we're hoping that there is a sighting, because at that point, we could set up a decent perimeter and even conduct, grid searches where you have a line of sight of the other officers and just check the entire, that small wooded area. But it looks like this guy had a 24-hour head start on us. So, we don't know exactly where he is, if he's still in that area. I mean, we're talking about the Adirondack Mountains. It's a very rural area where the truck was abandoned. So he could be in the woods. There's a lot of seasonal camps up there. There is cell coverage. It's spotty up there, but where the truck was abandoned, there is cell phone coverage. So it's possible that he called for a ride. Whether he had somebody that could come get him quickly, we don't know. Obviously, the police are checking cell phone records, any credit card use. So, the full court press is on.
I mean, that's terrifying to think about him going into an area where people are camping. I mean, we have here in New York, as you well know, some rather warm temperatures. So people are out. This is not like we are getting into cold weather already. We've got people kind of extending their summer, going out. It's the weekend, and we've got somebody who is very dangerous. Do we know if the murder weapon was recovered? Is he armed?
Yeah, I can't say about the weapon, but I know that the state police up in that area are checking with owners of the seasonal camp. And like I said, they've got a full court press. They continue to blanket that area.
And let's talk about the victim for a moment. Tell us if you've spoken to her family, obviously distraught, trying to make sense of what has just happened, going from, just a normal day to having somebody go and check on her and finding her in this way. Tell me about the family and who found her and what you can do there.
It was the mom that had reached out to her friend asking that he check the residence to make sure she was okay. So, the mom was worried early on. Police have had conversations with the mother. Obviously she's not in great shape, as you would expect. And, they continue to interview folks, neighbors at the scene down here, business owners, seasonal camp residences up north.
And our thanks to Mayor Keeler again for joining us earlier today. And joining me now for more details on the search for Anthony Bershon is Chief Todd Walden. He's the chief of police for this police department where this is all happening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It is so disturbing to think of him out there and what could be happening. Chief, describe the scene of the crime. Tell us, did it look like there was a struggle? Was there an element of surprise? What can you tell us?
Well, because there is the potential for a pending prosecution and court case, I really can't get into the details of the crime scene itself. As the mayor had mentioned earlier, I can tell you that it is not one of the more densely populated areas of Cohoes. It's suburban and made up of mostly single-family homes. It's actually not very far from where I live, and myself and my family have walked by that particular house many times as we're going through the neighborhood.
So the homes, are they close together? Do you think that anybody has heard anything? I'm sure that the neighbors have been interviewed. Is it that type of neighborhood where somebody could have heard a commotion?
Absolutely. The houses are close enough where that is a possibility. They are single-family homes, but close to each other.
Yeah, and the mayor had said that Bashand had a 24-hour head start. What leads you to believe this? Is it when the vehicle was found? Are there cameras? Is there surveillance that tells us some kind of a timeline?
Kind of all of the above that you had mentioned. Through both the investigation and interviews with other people, they were able to determine when his truck had arrived and then when his truck left. Also, the lack of communication from the victim to her mother and other people that she would have spoken to helped us to figure out that this had happened 24 hours roughly before we were notified.
It's just devastating. I don't know if you can tell us if they had any cameras on their home, any Ring doorbells, anything like that they had that you're able to tap into?
All of those things have been looked into, and there is some evidence that we're going to be getting from videos.
Okay, that's good to know. How'd you guys find the truck?
Plate readers have become a common practice to be using in law enforcement recently. So when you determine who you're looking for, in this case, Mr. Bashand, and then you determine what vehicles may be registered to him, you can get the license plate, and then you can enter that data into both stationary and mobile license plate readers. From that, every time his vehicle goes by a license plate reader, it will give us a hit, and you can kind of track its movements up to a certain point. At that point, it's up to the boots on the ground, troopers and officers to look in that particular area. Now, he did leave his vehicle at an intersection, run out of gas. So whether, again, he just kept going until he ran out of gas, or whether that was an intentional stop, we don't know.
Yeah.
But from that point where you locate the truck, you just kind of move outward in your search.
Sure. So you've got that circle, that kind of target, but I hear that he was found that the truck was not far from the Canadian border. Do you think that he may have fled the country? Is there any word from Border Patrol up there that he was spotted?
We didn't get any word from them, but we certainly gave word to them when it was determined where his truck was located. One of the first contacts we made was with U.S. Customs and Border Patrol to alert them to the fact he may be trying to do that.
Has he officially been named a suspect? Obviously, you have questions for him. I mean, he's the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, or whatever the case may be for their relationship. Are you calling him that?
Yes. Initially, they're a person of interest, obviously. But as you start to interview those closest to the victim, family members, friends, and coworkers, and this is the one person who was closest to her, who lived with her in that residence, and you cannot locate him. As the days go by, and then you realize the truck is abandoned, 150 miles from Cohoes, he certainly makes the switch from person of interest to suspect.
Well, Chief, I certainly hope by us putting that photo up and keeping this story alive on our air here at NewsNation, we can help get that word out. And of course, if anybody sees him, I assume that the word is to just call 911 and stay away, right?
Absolutely. We have 911 and we have some tips lines that are set up, encouraging everybody, do not obviously approach him. But if you have anybody you see that looks like him or anything out of the ordinary that's happening at your seasonal camp or your residence up there, don't hesitate to call the police. Let us check into it. If it's nothing, no problem. But if it helps us get him, then it's obviously important.
Yep. All right, Chief Walden, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And check back in when you have new information, okay? Thank you.
Will do.
All right, quick break, but stay right there. I've got the biggest breakthrough so far in the massive search for a man police say killed his 3 daughters. Did search crews in Washington state finally find Travis Decker? The sheriff leading the manhunt tells me everything about the human remains they found this week, points to his fugitive. Our full conversation with all the details next. For more than 3 months, we've been talking about Travis Decker. And he's the former Army infantry soldier who police have been searching for ever since Decker's 3 daughters were found dead near a campground in Washington state. Now, they had been asphyxiated on a weekend when Decker had visitation. Law enforcement officials believe Decker was either managing to hide from them or was somehow staying one step ahead. But tonight, the hunt for Travis Decker may be over. Search teams have found a set of human remains, and they're all but certain the dead person they found is their wanted man, Travis Decker. A short time ago, I spoke to the sheriff of Chelan County, Washington, Mike Morrison. Take a listen. Joining us, Sheriff Mike Morrison. Welcome back to the program with these new developments now with the possible remains of Travis Decker being found. Tell us what the latest is and how confident you are that this could really be it.
Well, we're feeling optimistic. It was already part of a pre-planned search operation that we had talked about here a couple of weeks ago after concluding the one with the FBI. We appreciate the U.S. Marshals and Border Patrol coming out, assisting us during the week. And then yesterday, as we were concluding, we did come upon some abnormalities that we were seeing, some from our drone images. So we searched in closer, found some items of interest. We did use Spokane County Sheriff's Office's helicopter team to repel our detective teams in there, confirmed that it was clothing consistent with what we had last seen with Travis Decker, and also some personal items and then some human remains too. So we collected some of these. We sent them off to Washington State Patrol's crime lab, and I've talked with Chief John Batiste this morning with Washington State Patrol and waiting to get results back on that. But we're optimistic this could be a positive break in the case. But again, we're not going to congratulate one another or pat each other on the back until we do get that DNA confirmation. But this is a good find.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how long could that confirmation take to be made? How long will we have to wait? Because I understand that there were other remains that were found before, turned out to be animal bones, right? But it sounds like you've got, some clothing and that personal effect. How long is it going to take before we know?
Well, I can say the difference between our findings from the last search with the FBI and this search, that we had no question that they were human remains. And now we just have to do the DNA comparison with what samples we have on file with Mr. Decker. We have not been provided an ETA, but we understand that we're not the only agency in Washington State that is investigating a homicide looking for DNA results. So we are pushing and asking just for the professional courtesy. We recognize that we have a lot of federal assets on the ground along with other county assets that we'd like to break back towards our agency if possible. But overall, we're hoping within the next couple of days. We're hoping possibly today, but it looks like it may take a little bit longer.
Was there a weapon found?
No. So far, we've continued to process the scene with the Washington State Patrol's crime response team. Our detectives are still on the ground. I know that we did locate 2 feet that were still intact, and we'll be sending them off to the lab for testing as well. Again, we did discuss that parts of these remains have been spread around, which is consistent with having been exposed to the wilderness and animals getting into it. There's a science behind that as well. And so we'll continue to process the scene, collect as many pieces of the body as we can, and get them off to the lab.
Unfortunately, we have seen that before when we've heard about remains being found and bones being scattered. And it's just devastating to think about when we're talking about a missing loved one. And now we're talking about a fugitive. But still, many people, when this happened, were so angry, were so hurt, were so devastated. Many people, you talk about finding somebody dead or alive, a suspect that could take the lives of his own 3 small daughters. Many people wanted him dead, and I assume that law enforcement wanted to bring him in alive to get some questions answered and to serve some justice.
Absolutely. We've been consistent in our messaging from day one. We told them we mean him no harm. We don't want anything bad to happen to him. We've encouraged others that have been out there threatening him that we would take care of the job. We were consistent with our message as well, that we weren't going to give up. We haven't given up. We're still very much in the fight. It's very challenging terrain to search overall. And what we're hoping to do is that if we had found him alive, we'd love to have had him in court explaining what happened, because it was the allegations made against him, but the evidence certainly points towards him being our suspect. But it appears that we may not get that opportunity. But again, we're not going to confirm it's him until we get the results back. But we feel like we've done what we needed to do for Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, bringing a voice to them, serving justice, and ensuring that the law prevailed. And
I just want to touch on the work that you have done and what that means to you and your community personally. If you could just share in closing what the last 3 months have been like for you and your team. I know that you are in the area tonight as we speak, going over to those investigators who are on scene, talking to them. What has this been like for you?
It's been a challenge. Certainly, you're looking at the largest manhunt in Ashleigh County history. You're also looking at one of the most complex and heinous murders that this county's seen. And it's rocked a community. It's rocked our agency. And thankfully, we have several good friends when you're looking at the Washington State Patrol, the other agencies we've talked about with U.S. Marshals, FBI, that have come right alongside us. Spokane County Sheriff's Office, King County. We couldn't have done this alone. We're appreciative for the partnerships we already had established. It's just further strengthened those partnerships, and really we relied on one another. We don't always have the answers. And when you have partners that you can turn to help you out through these challenging situations, you're appreciative of that. But, personally, I recognize that this has taken a toll on our agency. We've had several deputies that This is a horrific situation, and these are the kind of situations that'll keep you up at night. I'm going on to 20 years in law enforcement, and this one's tough. But you've just seen the professionalism from our agency, from our partners that have remained focused that we need to bring justice to Pate, Devlin, and Olivia for this. The fact that they lost their lives is just unacceptable, and they have to be held accountable. The suspect has to be held accountable, and we believe that suspect's Travis. And if we get confirmation, we feel like we've done our job. And the investigation continues, but it really has been a group effort. I appreciate our investigative unit. They've been pushing at this since day one, haven't given up, and have really taken this as a personal challenge and a call to arms.
Thanks to Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison. Those photos that you saw on your screen were from the U.S. Marshals in that region. And of course, as soon as we get more, we will update you as soon as that information about the identity of this body is released. And still to come, speaking of the Marshals, they tracked down killers hiding in basements, rapists running across state lines, cartel operatives moving guns and drugs. For U.S. Marshals, it is never routine. It is life or death. And I got to ride along with an elite task force and saw firsthand how dangerous this job really is. We're going to share that with you coming up after the break. "60 fugitives accused of murder, rape, child sexual abuse, and drug trafficking were hunted down, dragged off the streets across Massachusetts one by one, all in the last month. The U.S. Marshals called it Operation No Safe Harbor, and it's the everyday dangerous work of all law enforcement. This week, I witnessed that unflinching bravery up close, riding alongside the U.S. Marshals Violent Fugitive Task Force in northern Ohio as they pounded on doors, never knowing what was on the other side. Take a look.
Good morning. We're going after Darren Shine this morning.
Every day before dawn,
We got warrants for domestic violence.
the Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force meets up to tackle their mission, to track down the region's most violent and elusive fugitives.
Get that window.
After weeks, sometimes months of surveillance, these task force members come armed with tactical gear and guns to go after these dangerous individuals with felony warrants.
U.S. Marshals with a warrant! Come to the front door, your hands emptied over your head, do it now!
On this day, the team is 20 deep, with at least half a dozen fugitives in their sights. Their charges ranging from involuntary manslaughter, sexual battery, and domestic violence.
And because this is a domestic violence warrant, there are women and now children. There's a baby that they just brought out.
Stop putting me on that camera, boy!
Oh, he just spit on the camera.
Man, that nigga put me on that fucking camera, bro!
The task force, made up of U.S. Marshals and local law enforcement, is faced with this kind of aggressive behavior on a daily basis.
People don't want to go to jail. They don't, and they make bad decisions. These are the decisions that that they're making, either to fight or flee. But we try to take all that into account and be prepared for that.
Copy, lock it down, lock it down, lock it down.
This highly orchestrated effort by the task force has team members surrounding the premises, weapons drawn, with a door knock and a wake-up call that no fugitive wants to hear.
Canines are a huge tool psychologically for the suspects and the guys that we're going after, and then also just as a tool for us for searching and not putting us in harm's way.
All of it designed to ensure the safety of not only the officers, but everyone within reach of the warrant being executed.
Once that door opens, we don't know who's on the other side of that door. If the door opens and that guy's got a gun in his hand, I mean, we've got to protect ourselves and protect the public.
Is that our next target?
Graduated with her? Yeah. So she stabbed a female a bunch of times and sicked her dog on the female. So she's had a warrant for a little while.
The second target. They were after this woman. Now we see that 2 more men have been cuffed. And
So
does he have a warrant?
He does.
And what does he have warrants for?
Some kind of parole violation. Tattooed guy was in the closet in that upper right bedroom.
Sometimes when the marshals go in to go get a suspect, sometimes they'll find other people who might have a warrant for their arrest. There might be drugs or there might be guns inside of the house. And now we see other people taken into custody.
Copy. So target went into apartment 87.
And what are we doing right now? Why are we lined up like start this?
We're basically just getting a quick update from them.
Sure, just want to make sure we have.
And then we'll make sure we have everybody, and then we'll roll up.
Right. All right, here we go. It's going to be third one on the right, on our right.
Reinforcements are called in for the most dangerous offenders.
U.S. Marshals, come to the front door. Apartment 87, it's the U.S. Marshals with a warrant. Come to the front door, your hands emptied over your head. Do it now.
I got it, Bubby.
Open the door. Do it now. Doors get blown in.
Accused of involuntary manslaughter for allegedly distributing drugs that led to an overdose. Inside the home, their elderly mother and their youngest child witnessed the couple being taken out of their home and away in cuffs. A heartbreaking moment for everyone involved.
So I have 5 kids myself, so usually I'll kind of take a step out as a team lead and kind of hold the kid or make sure the kids got what they need and console them and make it a good experience rather than a negative experience. Because if you have them come out and it's all negative, they just see guns yelling, and then that's all they know, instead of us talking to them like a normal human being.
At the end of the day, Northern Ohio's task force is just one piece of a much larger national operation, one that brought more than 74,000 fugitives into custody last year. Each arrest makes America's streets safer.
How rewarding is it when you get your target?
It's always rewarding. I mean, that's why I do what I do, and that's the purpose I have, I feel, and keeps me going every day, is to take bad people off the street.
And our many thanks to the U.S. Marshals in Northern Ohio for that opportunity. It was a good one. Thank you so much. That is it for us tonight. Be sure to check out my weekend show. That is NewsNation Live. I'll be back here at 10 a.m. for you, and Cuomo is next. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.